What's up, everybody? So this is going to be a video on buying versus creating apps. Okay, now there are good things about buying an app, and then there's good things about creating your own app. Okay, now personally I would always go with the route of creating my own app because I just like creating. I like it the way that I want it to be. Okay, now don't get me wrong, I buy a ton of apps as well. Okay, now the good thing and the bad thing. Okay, creating normally costs way more than buying. Okay, I mean that's just the way that it is. Okay, um, so as you can see right here, buying it would cost. Let's say I have an app. Okay, the app costs $500, where someone's selling the app. Okay, let's say without the source code, and basically I can buy it for $500. Okay, now if I had them create that app, it might have cost $2,000 with the source code and everything like that. So I mean, honestly, it all depends on which route you want to go and your budget. Like I said, normally like 9 out of 10 of the time, creating your own app is going to be way more. Was going to cost way more money than just buying one from someone else. Okay, um, and if you buy it with the source code, you can still change it up and things like that as well. So like I said, at the end of the day, it really depends on your budget and what you're doing. Okay, so if you're like buying, so if you wanted an app for your website, 9 out of 10 you're gonna have to just get someone, like that's like a must. You have to get that created. Okay, I mean that's pretty much the way it is. If you just go and buy one that was for someone else's website and then basically plug your website in or something like that, if that's possible, just giving an example, it might just have a lot more problems. I mean, it's just not really meant for that. Okay, if you want your website to have an app, normally you're gonna have to go to someone and basically say, hey, I need this app created, can you do this? And they'll say yes, or they'll say no. And if they say no, you go to someone else. I mean, it's pretty much just that simple. But it normally is going to cost more money to get an app created. Okay, like I said, depending on what it is. If you just get a website like where it just loads up, you can get that done for like $10 or something. But if you want like an actual website where like you have columns and you have things like that, that can be $500 to $100. 500, to $1,000, $2,000. Just for something that simple. Okay, but if let's say you bought a website and you had the app, they had an app that went with it, okay, and they gave it for like $100, $200, that's what it saves you, like $800. But I mean, like I said, honestly, all depends on what you're doing. If you're creating a game versus buying a game, a game is going to cost a lot more than just buying it, okay? So because I mean, you got to pay for the developer and a lot of the time that they put in it too, and it all depends on the skills, how many people they have working on it. I mean, a lot of things go into creating, versus buying. It's a lot of stuff with creating. You might have a lot of bugs you run into, stuff like that. If you're buying an app, they might have already fixed a lot of the bugs and stuff like that. So it's just like basically building your own car type of thing. If you think about it like that, you're building your own car from scratch is going to cost a lot more than just going to the dealership and buying one, okay? I mean, it's just that simple because you got to pay pretty much for everything that goes on into going into that car now. It's not you just go and you just spend $20,000. Now it might cost, $50,000 for creating your own app or something. I mean, creating your own car, okay? Basically the same exact thing, okay? Now the source code is basically like you can think of it like the heart of the application. Okay, so is it good to buy an app without the source code? Honestly, that all depends on you. Do you want to change it up later? Like if you have no intention of changing the app and you like it the way that it is and you don't plan on growing it and you just plan on just making a few bucks off of it then selling it, then I mean yeah. But I mean, completely up to you though. It's always better to have the source code. If they'll give you the source code with it, take it. I mean, don't just leave it. Because I mean, if you get good enough at it, you can just copy you can basically do what they're doing once you have the source code, make copies and things like that, and resell it. Okay. Um, so then, like I said, guys, it all depends on what you're doing when it comes to creating versus buying. Like I said, if you don't have a big budget, I highly recommend that you just do buying. Because let's say you sink a lot of your money into creating an app, and then you find out it has a ton of problems and bugs, then it's like, okay, well, now you have to put out more money to fix those bugs, okay? If you just go and buy an outright game, you test it out, you play it, and things like that, then you're good to go. But I mean, at the end of the day, guys, like I said, honestly, it really all depends on what you're doing it for. Okay, I'll have videos on creating and I'll have videos on buying. So whichever route you want to go, I'll have a pathway for you to follow.